In this video, I want to handle the case where you have to add multiple empty columns. For instance, if you generate a task list where a worker has to add that they're handling this task, they completed it on this day, and what is the status of the given task. I want the column to be empty, so I could do something like adding a custom column and saying that the value should be null. But I want to add multiple columns at once. And with this method, I'd have to have one step for each column I add. Since the values have to be null anyway, I want to solve it in one step. To show the process, I want to first show off the TransformColumns documentation, because this is where it's written. If we go down to this third example, we can see that you want to convert numbers in a missing column x to text values, defaulting to null. And this is what I'm going to use. I'm going to try to transform a column, in this case x, that doesn't exist. And because I specify that if there's a missing field, I want to use null, this creates the effect that I'm looking for. If we go back to the source step, I can transform this table. I want to transform the source. I want to look for the column x, and I want to transform it using the function number from text. And I'll show later on that this isn't necessary, but we do need some kind of transformation. And my default transformation should be that I don't want to do anything, because I don't want to affect any other column that I'm not specifying in my list. And if I have a missing field, which is x in this case, I want to use nulls. We can see that it now adds this new column, and it's confused as to the type, but that's fine. But now I have this empty column with nulls. As I said before, I actually want to add multiple columns in one go, but if I copy this code, I can accomplish that with basically the same setup. Since I want to add multiple columns, in this second argument where I pass in a list of my columns to transform, I actually need to wrap this in a second curly bracket. So my first transformation is to look for the column x, and actually I want to look for task completed. And then I want to add another. I'm going to remember to close my curly brackets. I want another transformation, which is to look for the column completed by. And we can say each null, because I don't actually want to do a transformation, since the column doesn't actually exist. And I want a last column with the employee name, which likewise I also want to do nothing. And everything else is the same. I have these three columns, where again the typing is confused, but this is exactly what I want. I can then close and load my table as before, where the columns are simply empty. I would want to do this in Excel in order to get empty columns. If I go in and copy the code I added, I can show it in Excel. But since I don't have IntelliSense in Excel 2016, I want to do my code inside Power BI instead. I can then add all of my code inside the advanced editor and load that inside a table in Excel, and I get the exact effect I want. Now that I've loaded it, I can then break the connection by deleting the query. And now I can send this out to the employees, and they won't be able to refresh anything because this table is the final product. So I wouldn't want to break the connection in my own workbook, but I'd want to do this in the one I send out. But that was everything I wanted to show. So, yep.